Shivoham. Namrotyorna Shanka Namejati Veda Pitaneva Meneva Matana Janma Nabandhurna Mitram Guruneva Shivya Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham Nirvikalpo Nirakara Rupo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us for this Tibetan New Year meditation and question and answer with Lama Tsultrim Allione. I'm Isabel Bailey, and I am the online programs coordinator at Tara Mandala Center. Tara Mandala is a vibrant international Buddhist community with groups around the world and an organization based on 700 acres of sacred land with a 3-story temple at its heart in Southwest Colorado. It's a physical place, but it's also itself a living mandala whose emanations manifest in various ways. I'm going to cover just a few practicalities to get us started, to orient us to the event today. This is a webinar, and so we will not be able to see you, unfortunately, although it's wonderful to just feel that we're all together. You have been muted, and you will be able to chat. There will be a moment where you will be able to chat when we have question and answers with Lama Tsultrim, which will happen toward the end. And so we ask you, it's a rather large gathering, so we'll just keep the chat quiet. And then when Lama Tsultrim asks for questions, that'll be the time to join in, and we'll be able to read them and get as many answered as we can. I want to also mention something about dana. Some of you will be familiar with it, but for those who don't, it's an offering that's traditionally made to a teacher when receiving teachings or transmissions. And in a commercial culture, we might think that we understand that it's part of the commercial give and take. I get this, I give that. But it's actually a little bit more deep and beautiful than that in this ceremonial context. So it's a Pali word that goes back to the time of the Buddha, which means generosity, actually. Dana means generosity. And generosity is a foundational practice in Buddhism. It's one of the 6 great perfections and a path to enlightenment in and of itself. And I want to say that it is really, in this context, it's really an honoring. It's an opportunity for the practitioner to honor what is important, to establish a certain, to stand by what's sacred, to honor the teacher and to honor the teachings and the preciousness of these. And in a culture, again, where we can have everything at a click of a button, it's important to really take a moment to recognize the preciousness and the wonderful opportunity, how wonderful that we can receive the teachings in this way. So when it's mindfully practiced and heartfully practiced, it brings us back into wholeness and a joyful alignment with kind of the beauty of life, of this abundant cycle of giving and receiving, and recognizing the elders that have lived a life of devotion in order to be able to pass these teachings on to us. So if you can, there's nothing more precious than the Dharma, please make an offering. So the only thing I have left to do really is to introduce Lama Tsultrim, and it's such a pleasure. She is a best-selling author and an internationally known Buddhist teacher. She's the author of Women of Wisdom, Feeding Your Demons, and Wisdom Rising, Journey into the Mandala of the Empowered Feminine. She's the founder of Tara Mandala, and she was the first American to be ordained by His Holiness the Karmapa at the age of 22 in 1970. And then after studying and practicing in the Himalayas for several years, she disrobed, married, and had 3 children. In 2007, Lama Tsultrim was recognized as an emanation of the 11th century Tibetan woman teacher Machi Glabdron at her monastery in Tibet by the resident Lama there. And then shortly afterwards, she was again officially recognized by the great Chud master Tsering Mandu Rinpoche in Nepal. In 2009, Lama Tsultrim was selected as Outstanding Woman in Buddhism by a panel of distinguished Buddhist scholars and practitioners in Bangkok, Thailand. And in 2012, she was given the Machi Glabdron Empowerment by His Holiness, the 17th Karmapa. And she has worked extensively to establish Machi's lineage. She's always maintained an interest in Western psychology, women's studies, indigenous and spiritual practice, and she currently guides thousands of students around the world and seeks to make Buddhism both accessible in a Western context and keep the authentic traditional lineage intact. I'm so pleased to be with her again today, and so pleased to have the honor of introducing her on this very auspicious occasion. I give you Lama Tsultrim Allione.
Thank you, Isabel. Beautiful introduction. Losar Tashidale, everyone. That means Losar. Lo is year and Sar is new. So that's new year. Tashidale is good luck or may all be auspicious. So that you can say that to everyone today. Losar Tashidale. And sometimes they say Punsotso. May all benefits accrue. Punsotso. Losar Tashidale, Punsotso. So I'm sending that all out to you and to the whole world today. This is the first time I've actually done a Losar greeting and meditation. I felt like this year, since we've been online so much, we could do this. Usually I'm in Taramandala. Everyone is coming out of retreat at Taramandala today. They just did. We do a 2-week solitary retreat at Taramandala every year at this time. And then they come out Losar morning and wash their faces with star water, which is water that has been left out all night. And then in the morning you wash your face with that water, and then you imagine that all the impurities of the past year are disappearing, are being cleansed, and that you are entering the new year clean and fresh. So let's all imagine that we're doing that now, washing our faces with star water, clearing the old year, which has certainly been a difficult, challenging year, I think, for everyone, and feeling that cleansing, that freshness of the new year. Thank you. So there's a couple of things I wanted to announce before we actually begin, and that is we have a new calendar. Taramandala produced this beautiful calendar, and it has, this is the centerfold, and it has the days of the year in Tibetan and also in English, and it has all the special days, like the confession days for monastics. Here's one I'm just looking at, August 7th, Dharmapala Day or Dharma Protector Day, and Naga Puja Day. It has the new moon days, the full moon days, the Dakini days, Guru Rinpoche days, Tara days. And it's just so beautifully done. I just got mine in the mail a couple of days ago, and I had seen it being developed online, but just want to let you know this is now available in our store, and it was created by Bodhi Strope, who is our wonderful producer of books and all of our graphic work. And I'm just personally very excited about this. So I wanted to share it with you. And there is an online version if that's what you would prefer. Then the other thing I wanted to talk about, because this really isn't known, is this little book that we created. It's called The Force of the Mamos. And it was from the talk that Sanjay Khandro gave during the symposium that we did in May. And it's called Messages from the Divine Wrathful Mother. And it connects the mamos, who are these divine, fierce, feminine energies, with COVID and how that all worked and is working now. It was a really interesting talk, and that's why we decided to make it into a book. It also has various different illustrations in it. And so I wanted you to know about that. It's the Force of the Mamos, and that can be ordered from our store at taramandala.org. And I think all these things are going into the chat. But those are some products that I wanted you to know about because they're new and you might not know about them. And you might be excited about them, like I am. So the other thing I wanted to announce before we begin is a couple of upcoming retreats that I'm doing or others are doing. And in case you don't know about them and might want to attend them, one is on February 27th, and that's with me. And I'm going to be giving the transmission of the mandala of the 5 Buddhas. And so I'll explain that mandala of the 5 Buddhas. It's the masculine. I've taught a lot about the feminine. This is the sacred masculine with the 5 Buddhas. And I'll be giving that transmission, which will then authorize you to do that practice. And you can get a copy of that practice from Taramandala after that retreat. I think it's important that we have balance in the world, that we balance the masculine and the feminine. We all have both those elements in ourselves, and no matter how we identify in terms of gender or sexuality, we all have those elements going on. And so to work with those energies in our unconscious and make them conscious and transform those energies into wisdom is important. So that's on February 27th. And then on March 14th to 20th, there's going to be an online retreat with Peter Oosthausen and Charlotte Rotterdam on the sacred masculine and feminine. And they're going to be teaching the Yabyum Mandala. So that's bringing together the anima and the animus aspect of ourselves into union in meditation. So that'll be a wonderful retreat to work with those energies, and that's a practice also. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is between March 19th and March 21st, I will be teaching with Anam Tupten on the Great Mother Prajnaparamita, which is the nature of mind. And so we will teach online together for the first time. I don't know if you know Anam Tupten, if you have had the chance to read his books or hear him teach, but he's a very special teacher. He really embodies the presence of the nature of mind, just how he is all the time. A very luminous being, and I really feel very honored to teach with him. And so that'll be March 19th to 21st on the Great Mother Prajnaparamita. So that's a few things that are coming up. So now let's raise bodhicitta together, our intention to be together at this time for the benefit of all beings. We do this mudra for raising bodhicitta. It's a mudra of one-pointed dedication to the benefit of beings. Heartfelt intention to be together this morning or afternoon or evening, whatever the case may be, to be together at this moment of Losar for the benefit of all beings. I love this moment because it's when I start to feel you, feel your presence, and feel that etheric community that we create every time we do this. It's powerful and it's real. Thank you for your presence. So before I lead you in a meditation for Losar, I wanted to speak a little bit about what this all looks like astrologically in terms of Tibetan astrology, and also a little bit in terms of Western astrology. As you may remember, at the end of last year, we had that conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter that only occurs once every 600 years, something like that. And it was a significant event in our skies here in Encinitas, California, where I'm living now. We could see it. We sat on the beach. It was extraordinary. There were whales leaping and squirting from their spouts. And we could see those two planets. It was just beautiful, beautiful, clear sunset. And, you hear about these things, and then there's all the theory of what it means and so on. But I honestly had never felt anything like that occurring while it was occurring. And as we sat there on the beach, I actually felt this shift take place that everyone was talking about. As I was looking at those planets, I felt something happen. And so that's really a shift to more universal consciousness. Jupiter's expansion, Saturn's a discipliner. So it's sort of a discipline in our expansion. Some say this is the real beginning of the age of Aquarius, that it's really the beginning of a new era. And so that occurred at the end of last year and around the time of the solstice, winter solstice. And now we're moving out of the year of the rat or mouse into the year of the metal ox. And so what I understand about this from people that know about Tibetan astrology is that this has been a difficult year, which we can certainly attest to, that we are now moving out of, that the rat will continue to cause some trouble as we move into this next phase, but that the ox will take over in a slow, methodical way, which you can already see the way the vaccines are rolling out. I heard yesterday now President Biden, love saying that word, has gotten enough vaccines to cover our country. And now it's just really a matter of getting them into people's arms, which will take some months. But that's that slow, methodical process that we'll now see things are moving ahead. There is a method to the madness, and we will begin to see change and improvements in our lives in many ways. It will be incremental, and so be patient, avoid impulsiveness, and try not to be discouraged. Have faith that things will get better and are getting better. The element for the year is yin, metal, or feminine metal, which is harmonious with the earth element. And the earth generates and feeds metal. So this implies an even calmer and more stable year, less violence, more calm, less contentious behavior, less contentious speech, and less potential for violence. That'll be a relief, right? All of us. Yin metal is about the future, our hopes and dreams, which can start to inspire us again. So it might be good to just take a moment now as I talk about this and tune into your personal inspirations and aspirations for this year? What are you hoping to create in your life, in your community this year? And set an intention to do that. And feel the easing in of this yin metal ox energy, pushing those intentions forward in a systematic way, setting your path in motion, and basing any aspirations that you have on bodhichitta, benefit all beings. Get some clear visual images of that which you wish to create. And feel yourself letting go of the heaviness from the past year, the worry for our country, for our world, our family, and moving into these bright aspirations for the year of the female metal ox. So, as I said, the overall overlook of the year is positive, especially toward the latter part of the year. The harvest of the year comes in summer and autumn, the fall months. And so life will get better as the year progresses. Many people in many ways will see their lives improving. Life will feel more peaceful, less stressful, and please practice patience as this occurs. It's not going to happen all at once. It'll be slow going, especially toward the beginning, but we'll gather momentum. There will be some restrictions on growth and movement, but these will lessen. The yin metal will make people and governments more efficient and subtly more productive. So by the year's end, there will be incremental achievements that together will amount to something much more substantial. So that's what we're looking toward this year. It's very optimistic. I do feel this personally. I intuitively feel this shift. And it's wonderful that the astrology backs that up. So that's what I wanted to say about the sort of predictions for this year. And now what I'd like to do is lead you all in a New Year's meditation. This is not going to be too long, probably 10, 15 minutes, something like that. So find a comfortable seat. If you're not already in a comfortable seat, adjust yourself. It's always good when you're meditating to have your back straight and your chin tucked in, not in a rigid way, but just so that when you actually, if you push your chin out, notice what happens to your back. And then if you just gradually pull it back in, notice when you get a slight tug at the back of your neck, that's when you know that your vertebrae are aligned and straight. So then you don't need to tuck your chin in any more than that. Just leave it with that slight tug. And then I'll invite you to close your eyes for this time. Feel the simplicity of yourself sitting wherever you're sitting, your body sitting, your body touching whatever it's sitting on. And just take a moment and send some gratitude to your physical body for everything it's doing right now, all the ways that it supports the mind stream, makes it possible for our activities. We don't usually spend a lot of time in gratitude for our body. We hardly even notice it unless it's giving us problems. So let's take a deep moment of gratitude for our bodies. It's such an amazing thing, the way our consciousness and our bodies are united and functioning together. So now what I'd like you to do is to become aware of your heart center. So it's not your physical heart, although it's near your physical heart. Physical heart is on the left. The heart center is in the middle of your chest. In the center, it's where you put your hand when you say, oh, my heart hurts, or I feel it in my heart. That's where you put your hand. You can touch it with your hand. Also, bring your attention there. And imagine that there's a sphere of rainbow light in your heart. This does actually exist in the Tibetan teachings, this sphere of rainbow light in which the life force abides. It's swirling. And that rainbow light is the essence of all the elements. It's very luminous. This is the seat of your Buddha nature or bodhichitta, your enlightened heart. Feel that glowing, and from it is coming light. That light is connecting to all the beings that are in your immediate surroundings, be they animals or humans or birds or creepy crawlies, four-legged, six-legged, many-legged beings. All those beings have that light in their heart. So connect your light to all those beings that are in your immediate surroundings, and imagine that that light increases by the number of beings that you're connecting with right now. Your own light becomes that much stronger. And now that light expands out further from your immediate environment into your neighborhood, if you're in a neighborhood, or if you're out in the country, out to all the beings that are in your immediate neighborhood, in a circle. And as the light strikes them, it's like a light bulb goes on in their hearts. They wake up to their true nature, and they begin to generate compassion, which is at the core of all beings. It's the very nature of awareness. And feel the increase in your own compassion and love and brilliance as you connect with all these beings. And now imagine that that light goes out further from your immediate neighborhood into a larger area around you, around 100 miles around you. If you're in a city, that's hundreds of thousands of beings. If you're in a more remote place, not so many beings. In any case, feel as this light strikes them, the luminosity in their hearts, that rainbow light, lights up. They become aware of it. Their compassion begins to be generated. And they begin to send out love and kindness, compassion. And then expand it out further to 1,000 miles, much further, almost inconceivable. But let your mind expand, stretch to all those beings. And as their lights go on and they're illuminated by their own Buddha nature, their own innate awakeness, they begin to shine. And the nature of their luminosity is compassion. So now you've ignited this in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of beings. Feel the power of your intention. And then take another leap and connect with the whole continent that you're on, whatever that continent may be. Or if you're on an island out in the ocean, the closest continent to you. Feel that here in the United States. I'm stretching it out to Canada and up to the North Pole, Alaska, and then all down into Mexico, Central America, and South America. And then imagining that whole thing as a circle. So it's also going out to all the beings in the ocean, in that amazing dimension of marine life. And feel the luminosity, just really intense. So many beings lit up, in touch with their own hearts, with their own loving kindness, and all of them spreading it to each other and around the world. And allow your mind to go specifically to any places that you know where there's maybe more COVID right now, or war, or just difficult times. And feel that luminosity spreading into all those difficult places. And now allow this light to spread around the whole globe, all the other continents, all of the oceans, lakes, rivers, all the beings in the sky around this precious globe as it spins through space. It's as though we're seeing lights go on in all these different places, millions and millions and billions of luminous hearts, all emanating love and compassion, all touching in on their true nature, which is love and compassion, which is awakeness, awareness. And feel the interconnectedness of all beings through this web of light, of kindness, caring, desire to help each other, be a benefit to others. Feel now this extends out from our earth out to the whole universe, which is really too vast to even explain, too vast to even know. But we can just imagine that it goes out infinitely. Infinite space, infinite beings, beings that we may not even know of that exist in our universe. Also part of this awareness, this consciousness, which is all pervading, the great expanse of awareness. That is the web that links us all together. And just take a moment and feel the oneness, the return to oneness, not two. So big, it's inconceivable. And then keeping that expanded heart, that sense of interconnectedness, of love, empathetic joy, compassion, equanimity. Come back, bring your awareness back into your own body, centered here where you are. Stabilize that feeling of awakeness, setting intentions for the new year, beginning to walk that path. New year. And come into an awareness of your current environment without cutting off this feeling of expansiveness, of interconnectedness, keeping that, and yet opening your eyes. And then let's take a moment to dedicate the merit, positive energy that we generated through this time together. Offer that out to all beings everywhere. Any positive energy that you gained, which is called merit, or sonam, Tibetan. We've accumulated a lot of merit doing this because it's so expansive, so vast. The vaster the intention, the greater the merit. So now let's offer that accrued merit out to benefit all beings everywhere. Let it go. And then come back here, present together. Thank you for sharing that with me. Beautiful way to start this Tibetan year, which is a lunar year. So today is new moon, and that's why this is New Year. It's said that any meditation practice or any positive activities that accrue merit, that are accrued in this first waxing moon of the new year, have special power. So this is an opportunity to do a lot in this next 2 weeks. Think about maybe gifts you want to give, maybe something you want to actually put into motion, a project you want to start. This is a really good time to do that. So now I thought we would have some question and answers, and you'll be sending that to the tech support here in our call. Send those questions and then she'll refer them to me. And in the meantime, I thought we could open the public chat and just have people say hi. And if you can say your first name and where you are and anything that you want to say to this group that is gathered today, then we can open our chats and look who's here. Vienna, Fort Collins, New Mexico, New Orleans, Jane. Oh, hi. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Whoa, whoa, they're coming in fast and furiously. Worcester, Mass, Vienna, Berkeley, New York, Germany, Bulgaria, Denmark, and Michigan, Germany. Oh, Delaware, Biden's home state, England, UK, Ireland. Hi. New York, Poland, Santa Monica, Pagosa, UK, Germany, Austin, wonderful, Scotland, Canada, San Francisco, Big Sur. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, Emma. Massachusetts, get some old friends here and new friends. Oh, Ashley and Joe from here. Virginia, Italy, Texas, Spain, Switzerland, Norway, Houston. Oh, Kalamazoo, Wisconsin, Santiago. Canada. Okay, so let's just let these keep rolling in, and maybe Isabel or whoever's going to be giving me the questions, you can start to give me questions. Amanda from England.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for checking in from all over the world. It's so wonderful. And we recognize some of your names, and that's just lovely. It's lovely. So lovely way to at least have a sense of Sangha in some form.
Yeah.
But we're going to switch now to we're going to switch now to specific questions, and I'm going to, for that, I must actually close the public chat and then make it to just the panelists. So thank you. I know I hate to do it because it's so lovely, but the chats come in so fast and furiously that we can't actually then find the questions. They go by too fast. Okay. So I'm just going to close it just for the panelists for now, and we might open it up again at the very end. But we do have a first question, which was, what is the significance of engaging in positive actions during this auspicious time of Losar and other auspicious days in the Tibetan Buddhist calendar?
Yeah, well, the significance is that certain energies align during certain planetary alignments. And so that will be those special days. There's also days that are connected to, I guess you could say, certain saints or energies, like the 8th day from the new moon, the 1st to the 8th, we have the day of Tara. And then on the 10th day of the lunar year, the lunar month, we have Guru Rinpoche, or the masculine deities. And then the 25th, or the 25th day of the lunar month, is Dakini Day. And all these are actually in your calendar. So now I'll tell you the next Tara day, and that will be on February 19th. And then Guru Rinpoche will be on the 22nd. And the full moon is the Chotel Duchen, or the display of miracles. So this this time between new moon and full moon is the period of the display of miracles. And so it said that the Buddha displayed certain miracles and started today and then ends on that day. And so this, I mean, if you just think of it as sort of that impetus of the new year, you can understand this sort of positive energy. And then in the lunar calendar, you have this increase of energy from the moon during the waxing moon. And so the combination of those two things create this feeling or this experience of increase. The other time when this happens is during Sagadawa, which is the month that the Buddha was enlightened, also that the Buddha was born and that the Buddha passed into parinirvana. And so that's called Sagadawa. And that's usually in June. So you can just find these things in your calendar. Actually, the Sagadawa Duchen, or the Duchen is birthday, and in Tibetan, or anniversary, that's May 26th this year, different every year. And there's also a lunar eclipse that day. So that's going to be a very powerful day, May 26th. And that Sagadawa will begin in April this year, I guess. Yeah. Beginning. The full moon on April 27th is Machi Lopton's birthday, and I'll be teaching then also. So anyway, all these things are in the catalog, but in general, and not the catalog, the calendar. And this is such a nice little pocket version. You can carry it around. And as I said, you can get the online version too if you don't want something. You can just have it in your phone if you don't want the physical thing. I keep this by my meditation seat, so every morning I can look and see what's happening that day. I really like to connect with these sacred days. We've done this a little bit here in Encinitas in the Sangha. And I think all of us have felt the power of it when we've done our practices on the lunar days. We've tended in a lot of our Sanghas to do something like every Tuesday or every Wednesday or whatever, because we're all in that 7-day week cycle and it's just easier to remember. But if you have a chance to connect to the lunar energies, it just makes you feel somehow more in tune with the earth and the moon and the tides and everything. So I encourage you to do that.
Yeah, we had a few questions that were all a little bit more about expanding understanding of Losar. So I'll give you several of them all together, and maybe you can just sort of address them in a little more free-form way. And then we have some specific questions about practices to do at this time. What is the significance of the dawn season leading up to Losar, and how should our behaviors change, if at all, during that time? Are there any practices that are particularly encouraged to engage in during Losar? You mentioned that retreatants at Taramandala have just come out of 2-week retreat. Is this, quote, is the time around Losar from today forward or up until today, i.e. what's the time frame for celebrating? And then the last question that's sort of a calendar Losar time, New Year time. Is this New Year a good one to work on stubborn negative habit energies? Any suggestions or advice? So that's a big group, but maybe you can just speak to what comes up.
Yeah, so this season of the Dons, it kind of reminds me of that Donovan song, The Season of the Witches, or something like that. A season of the witch. Of course, the witches were really quite positive beings, mainly. But anyway, yeah, the duns are negativities that can be considered to be emotional upheavals or obstacles. So in the Tibetan astrological way of seeing the time, the 2 weeks before the new year is that time. And so in every monastery around the world, particularly originally in Tibet, they would have the Yutor ceremony, which is usually a drupchen of Vajrakalaya or some wrathful deity like that. And during that time, there is a big torma made that represents all the negativity from the past year. And various things are put on it during this practice. It's sort of like, it's kind of like an effigy. And so that's all sort of, that negativity is put into that torma, which has a certain form. And then on Losar, that ends and that big, huge negative ball is thrown into a fire. And then there's dances around the fire, and the protector's serkim is thrown into the fire. And so then it's that burning up of all that negativity from the past. And so this is how the Tibetans do it in Tibetan culture, but many cultures around New Year have these kinds of ceremonies where in one way or another, the negativity of the old is put into some sort of effigy that's then burned or in some way released. And then the new is welcomed in. So it's a sort of like a cultural and collective purification. And so that's what's happening before. And then generally everyone cleans their house before Losar, like, that deep cleaning. It's a really good time to do that if you do an annual deep clean of your house. Take out all the carpets, get the carpets cleaned, and anything like that. And then on New Year's morning, you do that star water and generally take a shower or a bath. And then you're all sparkling for the new year. And then you put on new clothes, or at least clean clothes. And then you enter the new year. And so now you're in this generative energy that goes from new moon to full moon every month. Good time to begin things. But in particular, since it's also this time when the Buddha manifested miracles, and the Buddha did have miracles similar to Christ. We don't hear about that so much in terms of our talk about the Buddha because it wasn't considered to be the main thing. But he did first manifest miracles when he returned to his hometown and the palace of his father. The local people didn't have faith in him. He was kind of like the local prince who had gone AWOL because he had left his wife. His father wanted him to be the king, his only son, his only chance to have an heir, and the Buddha left and went off on his 6-year search, which led to his enlightenment. So when he returned home, the people, his uncles and so forth, didn't really have faith in him. And so that's the first recorded time when the Buddha manifested miracles. And what he did was to have water pour out of different spouts out of his body, and also fire, and also created rainbows coming out of his body. And so those were his first miracles. So this is a time of miracles. Miracles are considered to be important because they give people faith. And that's what happened to those people who had thought badly of Siddhartha, who had gone off and left everybody in the dust on his search. It convinced them that something had really happened and gave them faith in the Buddha. And eventually his former wife, his former mother, and his father, and everybody took ordination, became monks and nuns, including his son, also Rahula, who became a very important monk in the Buddhist Sangha. Coming out of that visit home, and he made peace with his father, and his father was able to understand the importance of what he had done in leaving and so on. So this is an important juncture. As I said, this is the Tibetan New Year. It's not the same date every year because it's lunar. It'll be anywhere from February until the beginning of March, sometimes early in February like this, sometimes late, sometimes the beginning of March, also because of how Tibetan astrology is calculated. So this is the time this year. And I do feel, and I think many of you feel, we're in a sort of new era in terms of our governance and our relationship with the world and in the United States. And thank you to all of our allies and countries that we're connected with around the world to born with us during the previous administration. And hopefully we can repair our relationships and move forward in a good way, and also really move forward with racism in America and that sort of cultural overhang that we just have as a country. It's a big shadow issue that really came out this year, and hopefully that coming out and becoming more center stage can lead to a deeper dive into clearing and healing those problems in our society, the United States, and of course around the world. But that's our particular work as a country and as individuals. So hopefully move that forward.
So there's a question sort of not exactly connected to that, but one who's asking specifically about practices at this time, and also someone who asks about what might be a good practice to do and honor and help all those whose lives have been lost. And I would add the families and friends of those people who are grieving in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And someone else asked specifically how to do sojong.
Oh, sojong. Yeah, I'll answer that first.
Okay.
Sojong is a confession ceremony done by monastics mainly, twice a month, and there's certain rituals for that. It was a way that the Buddha created a possibility for vows to be corrected and healed, the breakage of monastic vows, and they did have over 300 vows of fully ordained, so it's very easy to break them, or at least some of them, so they would be kind of cleaned up. The way I see sojong is more like it could be an everyday thing, because I feel like confession of faults and attempts to heal those faults is really important. And so what I mean is, let's say you've done something maybe to your partner that was really not good, and maybe the whole community is aware about this. It would be important to confess this to your partner and to the community and ask for forgiveness. That's just one example. But the process of confession, we do it every time we do tsok. It's always part of every tsok or feast offering that usually occurs at least twice a month in any community. There's always a confession part. But I've thought about it over the years because of the whole Catholic confession thing and guilt, and that just confession sort of got a bad name and for a lot of people in that way of not, that you're not necessarily really changing, but just sort of say a few prayers and then, okay, I'm good. But I think that process, even within ourselves, even if we don't confess to anyone else, to actually recognize our mistakes and then commit to not doing them again. Because if you just admit, but you don't commit, then you're going to do it again. And so that process of confession and the healing that's allowed after confession is very important. And that's what we're doing in the Vajrasattva practice. Many of you are involved now in Nundro or preliminary practices where we do the Vajrasattva purification mantras, and during that you confess all your hidden faults. And that's something that was said to Machi, was confess all your hidden faults. Because our faults are pretty obvious to everyone else, generally. You know, we think nobody knows, but they do. But we don't really confess them. And then we hide them from ourselves, and that allows them to fester and increase. And this doesn't mean beating up yourself or not having self-compassion. It's really a form of self-compassion to clear these things that are on your heart in one way or another and let them heal. And so then there was a question also about what practices are good to do during this time. So any practices of increase, like making offerings, I think we have an opportunity to offer butter lamps at Tara Mandala. Maybe we could post that link. And any kind of offerings you make during this time, it's increased. And so the brightness of the prayer lamps, the butter lamps increases. You can also dedicate them to others. I've heard a close friend's daughter has breast cancer. I've just heard in the last few days. And so that's an opportunity to light some candles in her name. We can light candles for all the COVID victims. This opportunity to make butter lamp offerings or candle offerings at Tara Mandala is always there. But we're doing it particularly today and at other important junctions in the year. But on our website, maybe you could put in that link to that in case people want to, but it doesn't necessarily have to be through Tara Mandala. Many different monasteries and places. If you know anyone in Nepal, I know when my son was in Nepal, I would ask him to light butter lamps at the stupa in Bodhanath when I would have certain things I was worried about or prayers I wanted to make. He would go over there where there's people that create butter lamps, and then you make an offering and you can light them. So lights are really good to offer. Also, any kind of generosity that you can express, perhaps giving to the homeless, helping with this food insecurity situation that we have now. Any kind of giving is really good to do during these times of increase, which accumulates merit. Also, visiting monasteries. Tibetans at this time all go around and visit the local monasteries and make offerings. And this is the Tibetans in Santa Fe, for example, come up to Tara Mandala. And I don't know if they will this year because of COVID, but normally they come up and make offerings in the temple and circumambulate it. And also stupas, if you have any stupas in your area, or any monasteries, not particularly Buddhist. You know, I have more of a kind of universalist approach, being raised as a Unitarian, where, you know, you could go into a Catholic church and make offerings too, or it doesn't have to be in a religious setting, but just that sense of generosity and increase. And then practices, often long life practices, longevity practices are done in these times of increase, and particularly in this one. So if you know any longevity practices, that would be good. We also are in the process of now editing a Shitro online course, which I recorded this fall. Shitra is a practice for the deceased. And so pretty soon I'll be giving that transmission along with other transmissions that I give periodically for online courses that you can take. And that's a training in how to practice for the deceased. And So once you know that practice, you can do it. I did it a lot at the time of 9/11. I did it every day for 49 days for my parents when they died. So that's a really good practice to know. And I teach it as a retreat at times, and it will now be available to everyone in an online course pretty soon. So that's also a possibility.
So, Lama Tsultrim, I think we are at the end of our time together. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining us, and again encourage you to go and look at our website. These are extraordinary times, and we really have worked very diligently to embrace the moment and become larger and be able to offer more. And so I encourage you to look, and may you find something there that nourishes your path and feeds you. We would welcome and be happy to join with you. And I would like to just, and also please remember to offer dana if you can and what you can. And I want to introduce Dorje Lupan Chandra Easton, who is a Buddhist teacher and scholar and the assistant spiritual director with Lama Tsultrim at the Tara Mandala Center, to close.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lamala. It's so beautiful to spend Losar with you and the community. I've been asked to offer the long life prayer for you, written by Toku Sangak Rinpoche. So may you have a long, long, long life, and may we all have a long life, but it's a customary thing to honor to our teachers. So we do this with love. And you can follow along here. We're sharing the screen. And it's a beautiful melody we learned in Bhutan at the Machig Zangri Kangmar pilgrimage that we did in 2018. So I remember when we heard this, Lama Tsultrim said, if you sing my long life prayer with that melody, I promise I'll live a very, very long time. So here we go. Sing along with me if you'd like, or listen. Om Swasti Machik Lap Gidrun Me Yesheku Jezun Kater Chud Yu Zenma Jetsun Lama Tsultrim Chudrun Chok Kutse takten zetrin gyuchi. Logyatsering etashidele losar. Puntsumtsok. Thank you.
Lots of love, everybody. Lots of love. I'm glad we could meet like this, this etheric community. And I hope this coming year we'll be able to meet in person.